Hello everybody, Ryan here from the Reptile Guys. Today I bring you Valerian, one of the newer additions, but I don't think you guys have met him. Yeah, definitely the first time you're meeting Valerian. He's a Crested Gecko, he or she, not sure yet on that, but I figured I would get him or her out today to show off, because as you guys noticed in the title, we got a hot topic that just kind of wanted to cover a little bit because it's a disturbing couple of minutes I had to stomach watching this video. So I'll sum it up. What we have is someone who had a pet crested gecko that had some injury on the end of its tail. That injury, they explained, had an infection that wasn't going away and getting worse. And definitely didn't mention consulting a vet, definitely didn't mention treating it in any way. They came up to a hypothesis that they best just remove the tail completely off the animal and, avoid any further infection. So I don't even know where to start on how stupid of a concept that is. I don't know which one of the two people in the video came up with that idea, but I'm gonna, in the kindest words possibly, deconstruct that for you guys. Like pure animal cruelty. Pure animal cruelty. You have an infection on the animal's tail. Now let's just start with what the tail is on a lizard, a gecko. So yes, they do have the ability to drop that tail if under heavy stress, like their life depends on it. They can remove that tail and essentially live and scamper away. Now, most lizards can regenerate their tail, but crested geckos can't. Now, they mentioned that in the video, which is surprising that they know that, but they don't know how to care for their gecko or how to treat an infected wound on the tail. Like, take it to a vet. There's obviously an infection, something wrong with the animal. Take it to a vet. It's something inside of it. Like, proper husbandry requirements being provided to your gecko, you should not have any kind of like fungal or parasitic or bacterial infection growing on the end of the animal, on the end of the tail. Like, that just doesn't happen if you have like the right gear set up in your tank. So it's kind of strange how they didn't show the enclosure that the animal is in, the gecko. Anyway, I'll show a clip of the video.
Okay, this is one of our crested geckos, and you can see he's got necrosis of his tail, which means there's cell death occurring, and it's becoming infected and the circulation isn't good. So we're going to do something called autotomy, right? Autotomy. We're going to kind of scare the gecko. It's not going to hurt him, but we're going to scare him into dropping his tail, which is something they do when they get scared or their tail gets
yes, it will
caught
hurt
by something.
them.
So
it will totally hurt them.
my husband's going to use hemostat, and again, it's not hurting him.
And you're scaring him. He thinks he's losing his life or losing that tail right now.
It takes a minute or so.
This goes on
But if we leave the tail,
several more seconds.
now the tail just keeps moving.
But yes, right around there, they just pry that sucker off.
So
that is
look,
disgusting.
now the tail just keeps moving.
Savages. Of them removing the tail itself. But yeah, other than that, it's like you have to take the animal to the vet to have some sort of antibiotics given to it or something to give it to eat, ingest, because if you have an infection, it, yes, may be on the end of the tail, like where you can see it, but it's on the animal. So it's in the blood, it's going through the entire system, it's all the way into their head. So you have to treat that. Otherwise, it's just going to pop up somewhere else. You can't just cut off an arm and hope for the best. And by the way, I hope you guys know that's what a tail is to a lizard. It's a limb. It is a full-on limb, just as much as their arm or their leg. Amphibians like axolotls, which I mentioned in the video, oddly, they can regenerate even their arms or their legs. Actually, and their tail. Geckos can't do none of that. But to remove it purposely, the tail, you're ripping off a good portion of the animal. Like, they do this as a last resort if they're absolutely certain their life depends on it, right? So you're ripping it off, making the animal think it's about to die. It's like, that is such a level of stress. Animal cruelty. And they can't even regenerate. Put it like this: evolution has adapted these creatures, crested geckos in particular, to not regenerate their tails because they're so used to losing them in the wild that they don't want to, put the energy and, I guess all of their bodily juices into regenerating a new tail because it's that much effort and work for them. Like, in lizards who do regenerate their tails, it takes many, many months to fully recover, and it doesn't ever fully recover. Most of the time, it's no longer prehensile, and also it doesn't have the same color or same shape, the regenerated tail. Like crested geckos, they even have a little toe pad, like on their hands and feet, for sticking to glass on the end of their tail. It is quite literally even a footed appendage. It is a limb. They use it. It's important to them. And I could tell in the video that, yeah, it did have a little scrape or something on the top, and it looked like maybe it had some pus in it. But you can treat that. Like, I'm sure there's some sort of like Vaseline or substance you can put on the end of that tail itself, and then give the gecko some vitamin supplement or antibiotic supplement in its diet to, rid it of the disease. Like, come on. And then they said the worst part of the video, the end, it's a class pet. So it's like, that from step one, it's like, you're doing it wrong. These are not class pet animals. Crested geckos are not class pet animals. You can't even hold these guys for very long because they are ectotherms, and they, in particular, are kept at cooler temperatures. We're 98 degrees humans, so it being on your skin for over like 30 minutes, you're risking its life. You're going to cook it. If they start getting hoppy and trying to jump away from you after being held for a long time, it's because it's thinking it's going to cook alive on you. It's like, seriously. And people, they go over and over and over how, oh, it's okay. They're just the same. They're just fine without their tail. It doesn't make any difference. I'm like, I know most people think that they're saying something nice for the animal, or maybe to get people to think a certain way, to, think less biased or judging just because it doesn't have a tail, because they do lose their tails. It happens normally, not being pried off intentionally. But regardless, I also know that that is a BS tactic used by pet shops to sell geckos with no tails for equivalent price as geckos with tails. It's like, come on. I know what you're doing. You don't want me to think any differently of the gecko with a tail versus the one without a tail. Because of price. You want me to pay the same. Duh. I honestly wish I could sympathize with people on some of this stuff, but you have to look at it realistically. Everything that I witnessed in this video was just absolutely crude in animal abuse. You don't intentionally rip off your animal's tail. You just don't. You don't do that unless it's like bleeding out, like, or risking the life of the animal, like, immediately. If the animal's not dead, it just has a little infection on the end of its tail, treat it. Don't rip it off. It's like, this isn't medieval times. Okay, I know we're watching Game of Thrones, and they do, and House of the Dragon, my little dragon here, I know they do. Whoa! This is because they don't like to be handled for too long, I imagine. But he thought he could make that. He did not make it. Anyway, these little dragons, you know, I know we like to think in medieval times like, oh, you know, you get infection, you just cut it off. It's not how it works. We have medicine. 2022, as of recording this video, we know how to take care of our geckos. If you don't get it. You gotta like be certain. And then to have as a class pet, like such a bad idea. Having kids holding it all the time. I think that's what I was getting to. Because, you know, kids, they're not as well versed to, you know, handling and interacting with a wild animal as much as, you know, like a puppy or a bunny. Get a bunny or a guinea pig. That's a good class pet. Don't get a gecko. Don't get a gecko. I know they're easy to, you think they're easy to take care of because they require a little food, but in the long run, it's like their environment. As you guys can see behind me, I have a live bioactive vivarium in there. It's an 18 by 18 by 24 enclosure. It's well suited for this one gecko, and I'm only keeping this one gecko, not breeding him because I don't want him to lose his tail. And it's got lighting for the plants. It's got 3 levels of substrate and a drainage layer. It's got isopod colonies and springtail colonies to manage the mold and the decay and the gecko poop. It's like, this is how I don't get infections on my gecko's tail. And also I ask, how did the gecko's tail get injured originally? Probably one of your students in your kid's class that mishandled the creature or something, closed the lid on its tail and scratched it. I don't know. And it got infected. It's like not a kid pet. I mean, it can be if you have, you know, a kid that has the help of you know, an adult, a guardian, a parent, or, you know, say a well-versed kid that isn't so young. Like, I'm talking anywhere between the ages of, you know, 14 and up. You could totally take care of a gecko all by yourself, and you can be capable of learning how to. But if you're younger than 14 years old and you have no help, and there's a lot of you in a class, and it's the teacher like giving the pet to, I know how class pets work. They get shipped off to a house, you know, to take care of so they can learn about it. It's like, no, you're going to kill the gecko. They get stressed easy. Anyway, Reptile Guys, you know what? It's been great. I know I haven't done a video in a long time, so I'm glad that I have, you know, something to talk to you guys about, even if it's not so positive. But, you know, let's spread the word. Let's try and inform people, you know, that there's more to, you know, keeping reptiles than just a cute little class pet. You know, it's more of a responsibility, and, you know, we got to do right by the environment by like not abusing our animals. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this person gets informed, so maybe the gecko won't get any more stress. But yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night. Enjoy your reptiles. Keep herping. And as I used to say back in the day, like, sub, and share. I greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel tremendously. I'm thinking about starting, you know, post more frequently. You know, I got red tail boas. Red tail boas are cool. Got a whole bunch of them. 3 right here in my room. So those are new. I can show you guys those in another video. But yeah, catch y'all on the flip side. Peace out.